Affirmative action actually happened in 1935 under FDR, and later on was followed up by JFK in 1961 with the executive order, and 1963, and then with Lyndon Johnson, and then with the Civil Rights Act, the carry through to protect the minorities, women, and the economically deprived group as a protected group in affirmative action. There are many factors which are probably unknown to us because it's a trade secret to these universities. They have a closed system, not open to us. And this Harvard lawsuit actually opened up to us to see how they accept candidates, like the personality trait, other than the academics. They look into many factors, see if you're athletic, sociable, and other factors, which is very hard to know what they are looking at. So I think this lawsuit and future lawsuits will probably unveil more parameters what they use. So it's work in progress. When you allocate the resources, I think that we should treat each other like us instead of me and you against each other. So when you have the resources, you should divert that resources to the most competent person instead of subsidize people for whatever reason because of politics. So it hurts the candidate who works hard to be where the candidate is, and to allocate resources to people that are less qualified. It's just not smart for us as a society. Wouldn't be fair for the student, wouldn't be fair for society, because we don't get our bang for the buck. No, they can't do that because they're getting a federal grant, they're getting tax exempt, so they have to abide by the laws, those Civil Rights Acts. You know, this is a value system that everybody may not share. Some parents, I mean, some parents will do anything to make their kids go to Ivy League because they feel proud, successful. But not every Asian is like that, and I think that this is not unique to the Asian family, and I think that whoever that wants to do it has those values, will fight for it. Whether it's white, black, Hispanic, and if they want to do everything to get their kids in, and I think that they will do it. You know, so I don't think if you're parents that over worry about that, then you live your own life that way, and I certainly do not encourage people to try that hard to quote unquote subsidize your child to go into university, because it may not work well even you get into these elite schools, because it should be a natural, spontaneous way. People that love what they do instead of like do all kinds of things and stress their way in. I don't think that's the best way. I mean, it's only my personal view. We don't know because we handle many federal cases, and the federal judges are life tenure, and there's no time limit on how fast they can work on their case. Sometimes I wish they do, but it's up to them. And originally after the trial, we thought that something would come out in mid-March. But it could be any day because it's a high-profile case, and the judges will be under a lot of pressure to try to do it right, and the judge knows that either way, winner or loser would go to the next level. People would predict this case would go all the way to the Supreme Court. Yes, I think that it has a useful, it's a useful tool to correct the wrong, I think. And if there are situations that are clearly wrong, like in New York City, they had a lawsuit against the fire department, and they thought that the test was not fair, and the department was full of only white candidates and not enough African American and Hispanics. So they filed suit, they were successful, and a federal judge would come in and monitor the test and to make sure it's fair. And so I think affirmative action has a place to correct the wrong, but it shouldn't be used as a quota. If it becomes a quota, it loses its merit, because if you there's something wrong, you correct it, you correct a wrong. But if it becomes a number based on the color of your skin and not on the merit base, then it just pit one group against another group, which is not, I don't think is helpful in the long run. Well, which is good. I mean, because that tells us that finally these newcomers are learning their ropes. They're getting their feet wet. The kids are growing up. They are American born, and they are not hesitant to use their knowledge and to fight for their rights. So I think in the long run, more and more people will be in the mainstream and get involved and try to empower the groups, not only to themselves, but also to make our society a better place for everyone. The key is that the tests are fair, and I think that the results, that whether they are more Asian or white or African American or Hispanic, that is really not that relevant, because if it's a merit-based, it's not discriminatory. Because if you keep on looking at race, then you say, look, I mean, then it becomes a quota. You say, look, we got to have so many number of that color or ethnicity in the workplace. I mean, which is is forbidden under our laws using quota. And so, if you look at everyone as an American, whether they are Asian, white, or they are contributing to society, then you will less work up with what color of their skin is, because they are all contributing member of society, and you want to have the best people to serve in our country here. So when you say there are different ethnics, I think it's for politicians to use for short-term gain for their selfishness. I rate politicians in terms of selfishness and selfless. I mean, when people are selfless, they work for everyone. When people are selfish, they work for themselves. So, and if there are numbers are different, but if they place fair and square, I think it should be fine. Unless we find, like what I mentioned earlier about the test in the fire department, that was not fair. So we want to create harmony, and people work together as one. Talk about us instead of me and you. So one pit against the other, because in the long run, race should be a non-factor. We should base everything on merits.